Live, more or less, from Las Vegas. I'm Rick Rosen with Mark Anthony. This is Good Sports on goodsportsmedia.com. Good morning, Mark. What's up, buddy?
Oh, you know the website. All right.
I can read, despite reports to the contrary.
Yes.
You're rodeoing. Boy, you talk about Redneck Week in Vegas. You know, they have Black History Month. Why do we call this Redneck Week? We got the NASCAR crowd in for the Champions Week. You know, where the hell's Sarah Palin?
Yeah. NASCAR and NFR. I mean, can we get any more redneck? I mean, seriously, as much as I love people, you went into. You were both places, Mark. I guarantee you weren't the only guy that went to both events yesterday. Nope. There was a long line of us just heading to Thomas and Mack. Yep.
Yeah, at least goes. I had to. Oh, I'll tell you what. Getting home from that was a real treat on the bus.
Oh.
They have the RTC had. I don't know, morons. That must be the only qualification you have to. And they were trying to get people off and on the bus, and they still had the guard rails, the fencing up, so people wouldn't get out onto the Las Vegas Boulevard when the cars were there. Well, it was over, and nobody was moving the thing, so the buses that pull up on the strip have 3 separate doors. Well, you could only use the front door because they were parked by the fence in the back. And so this 60 people were trying to get through the front door of the bus, and everybody's wanting to ask questions. And does this bus go to Miami? And, all the stupid things that people ask. They stand there for 20 minutes waiting for a bus and don't ask somebody else that's riding the bus, where does this one go? They wait till they get on and then want to walk past the sign that says, don't bother the driver, and ask the driver, where does this bus go? So anyway, they had 2 of the 3 doors were kind of blocked off by this fence. So I just kind of walked around and went in the back door. And it was an hour and a half, I think, probably, to get home from the strip to downtown. So I've seen better run.
Let me tell you my story. Let me tell you,
when they close the strip, it's a unique thing. I mean, it doesn't happen very often. So, okay, what's your story? How'd you fare?
Okay. Have you ever shot the rodeo? Have you ever shot
National heck yeah. Rodeo? When it first came out here. Yeah, you bet. When it first came out here, I did it several years. Okay.
For media, we have to enter the main office underneath the 2 big escalators. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, and there's a gatekeeper there. Okay. And we have to have a badge that has our photo on it. All right. Now, first of all, every year NFR says we have to send in new photos for our badges. Okay. So every year we take new photos. Do they use those new photos? No, they do not use those new photos. Okay. Let's just start there. Now, see, this year,
no frickin' rules.
No. Okay. This year I've been told to behave myself, so this is the only chance I get because I know they're not going to watch this, okay? So, okay.
Little do you know.
Yeah. Okay. So we go through the doors. There's the gatekeeper. She looks at your badge, and then she pushes a button, and we can go into another set of doors back by the offices, all right?
Right. Back by the elevators.
Yeah. Okay. And then we go down into the basement. And then we have to walk that long hallway. Okay. First of all, once we get to the bottom of the stairs, where you can either go to the arena or down the hallway to the basketball courts in Cox. Okay. Long ass hallway. Freaking long ass hallway.
The labyrinth, we call that.
Oh my God. There's another woman down there that we see her a bazillion times, but by rule, she has got to look at her badge and look at her face. Okay. And she is, okay. God bless her. I love her.
Facial recognition.
Yeah.
Her name.
Yeah. So, okay, so then we go down that really long hallway, and this year they put somebody else at the end of the hallway to check our badges, okay? We have 3 checks, all right?
This is 3 times.
We get into the media room, which is a gymnasium, and the guy who manages the media room for the last 20 years, Jim, retired. He was so happy last year to get out of it, okay? He tried to train the new guy. He tried. Nice guy, okay. So I go up because...
So 3 people check your badge before...
Right. Yep. Okay. And this is just media, okay? I mean, I'm not photographing anything, okay? The photographers have to go through a completely different one, all right? So...
Well, I bet checking your equipment. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay.
That was me at brothels. But go ahead. I'm just saying.
So I walk up to the new guy and I ask for my meal ticket. So, and so that we can eat. And he looks at me.
Meal. Wait a minute. Meal tickets? You get 1 ticket for 1 run through the buffet.
Yeah, basically. Okay. And they feed us nicely. I will say this: God bless the NFR. They feed us really, really nice. Okay, but anyway, the new guy looks up at me and he goes, "Are you media?" I got the badge. I got the photo. I just went through 3 security checks. What do you think I am? Somebody who just walked off the street and I'm like,
I noticed the crowd. I wanted to see what was happening. Yeah.
I'm like, no, I just walked off the street, went through 3 security checks for a free meal. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Tonight is NASCAR Awards Banquet, correct?
Right.
Are you
Speaking of really
that?
good food.
Oh.
As a matter of fact, I am.
Are you really?
I'm putting together my tuxedo, and I will have my black tie and my bow tie and everything. I will be unrecognizable to most that know me.
So are the drivers. The one time that I covered that,
it's really is a gala event, and you see the drivers in tuxes and their ladies who are almost all taller than them.
Yes,
I think there's a good reason for that. Yeah, this is the last official event of Jeff Gordon's NASCAR career. He will be a broadcaster, and as a team owner, I suppose, or a part owner of Jimmy Johnson's team and those things, he'll always have his hand in it. But this is really the end of the line for Jeff Gordon and NASCAR. I mean, this is where he crossed to the other side, or you know what I mean. Whatever it is, this is the grand funeral procession with the jazz band and everything, like a New Orleans funeral. But nonetheless, it is the passing of Jeff Gordon tonight. It's his last. It really is the finality that I somewhat dread a little bit, Mark. Last year, I asked Jeff Gordon, if he had won it, I said people were worried. Your fans were worried about if you win it, were you going to Elway on out and quit? He said, "Oh no, I plan to drive, several more years." And sure enough, not too soon after, Jeff Gordon announces it for 2015 to be his last year. So I do understand, Mark. There's a lot more competitors. Know the top 35 drivers, and that last 8 drivers are somewhat interchangeable. They don't race every race for the most part. With the rodeo, you might know this guy or that guy or whatever. I don't think any of the bull riders are a household name.
No.
The young man that the Review Journal of all the photos, the guy that's the nuts for bull riding, they show him getting thrown off the bull. But there aren't very many household names in this whole deal. But I understand one of the team ropers got hurt, and it's in the newspaper today. And it's one of those things. We're talking about O'Brien, one of the great performers in rodeo, and he got hurt. I believe it was the day after hasn't been very long, but suffered a traumatic brain injury and a broken. And the horse stepped on him, and horses don't do. Bulls will step on you on purpose if given an opportunity.
Right.
Horses do not like to do that. Horses don't like to step in water that's running. I mean, horses are kind of skittish like that. So I don't think they have that mules do or whatever. So they don't like things under their feet. I don't know what it is. I've never asked a horse, but I don't believe I've ever seen a horse try to. I mean, they might kick at you, but stepping on you is something that I don't think they do on purpose, and it's very unfortunate. And it's going to be there again, probably the passing of the guard, Mark. I don't think it's it's tough. We're talking world class, but how many people? And I also saw a very interesting story. There's a 60-year-old rookie young lady who this is her first national finals rodeo in barrel racing.
Actually,
that goes wrong. AARP covers her, or I mean, is that the deal?
Actually, it's her second one. She's and you're right. With the rodeo, there's like half and half. Half of them are usual. It's the usual people.
Suspects.
Yeah. That's what I was going to. And then half
I'm here to help.
Half are the newcomers, and the thing that is amazing about the National Finals Rodeo is, I mean, with a rodeo, you show up, you ride 1 or 2 nights at a county fair, okay, and you build up your points, and if you're really
money is
good,
points.
And if you're really good, going in that you got a pretty good shot at the money, okay. Out of 20 riders, 18 of them are just hicks from the local area. 2 of them are guys that really do this. Okay, but
it's a business anymore, Mark. Used to be a hobby. Used to be something guys did. Now it's their business, and there's $10 million available this week with the new deal they signed with the Las Vegas event. So it's big money.
And so when you show up at the National Finals Rodeo, the thing that a lot of people don't understand why this is such a big deal is because you have 15 of the top riders, and they don't have to ride the best for 2 nights. They've got to ride the best for 10 solid nights. Plus they meet, plus sponsor obligations, plus the interviews, plus your workouts, plus your horse workouts. When you come here, these guys have got to be just freaking laser focused, and because you're going
the end of the year. None of them are in great health.
No,
none of them are in. It's almost like the pro bull riders, Mark. It's very similar. The steer wrestlers, they have their share of injuries, shoulders. You're jumping off a horse and using your shoulder and your arm to stop you on a speeding steer. So they have their share of injuries. The calf ropers, they have arm things and whatever. So everybody's got their little things that come with whatever event they're entered in. The guys that do the rough stock and do more than one, the saddleback and the bareback are very, very different in how you have to ride that. They are both bucking horses, but there's a huge difference between that saddle and sitting on bareback. Yes. And so it puts different parts of them at jeopardy. And the bull riders, because the bulls are so damn big, they have groin injuries that never heal until they retire. So health, as most things when they come down to the championship part, health is a big factor. But it's Clay O'Brien Cooper, if I'm not mistaken, or is it Jake Barnes?
Barnes
that's hurt. Jake Barnes, it was, and when I was covering the market, it was Oatberry and Clay O'Brien Cooper and a young man from my hometown, Yates, Dick Yates, and the kid, JD, I think the kid's name was. My dad had him in 4th grade, and him and his dad were great team ropers and that. But yeah, I think the personalities tend to get lost a little bit, Mark, because there are so many of them in the Pro Bull Riders. It's a little easier to pinpoint a JB Mooney or Silvano Alves or Adriano Moraes or whomever it was or is now. But with the entirety of the rodeo, there's so many performers and 10 performances. I mean, my God, I tended to get numb to it after a while, Mark.
Yes.
But I will say this: you asked me if I covered it. One of the coolest things I've ever seen. I was there when Jim Sharp rode all 10 bulls, and that had never happened before, and it was just an amazing thing. But I will say this. The difference, I think, for me, Mark, some of the differences are the livestock. For all the other events, they get the cream of the crop. For the bulls, I do not think they have access to the cream of the crop, and so it loses something there to me. You do not see a bushwhacker or airtime or whomever, and so it loses something. And I think when you see to get along. I think the bull riders, and you're talking about Ty Murray, the greatest cowboy of them all, if you don't count Donnie Gay or vice versa, and they decided to strike out and do that on their own, and I think it did detract from the NFR. I don't know if it would have made a great difference. People go, but they sell the place out. But to me, the Pro Bull Riders kind of spoiled me, Mark.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like to sit through calf roping and steer wrestling. Well, maybe steer wrestling, but anything but the rough stock events or the kind of manly, let's play football. I think some of it resembles soccer, and and people sit there kind of yawn. I think that's what always amazes me, Mark. People get kind of numb to the incredible feats that they've seen. Guy goes out and ropes and ties a calf in 5 seconds or 6 seconds or whatever it is, and people, well, that wasn't the world record, and they just sit on their hands. And I mean, I don't know what it is. You're there 10 days. You talked about the guy leaving last year. He couldn't wait to put in the last day of his 20 years, and he was gone. And I kind of always get that feeling people are more okay. We made it. We survived it for 10 days. And I know it fits a very good chunk that nothing used to happen here in Las Vegas. But I always kind of question whether 10 days is just too long for everybody involved. Back to back. Think how many back-to-backs there are in 10 for these performers. For these guys, never get a chance. If you get dinged up on night one, by the time that last day rolls around, you're hurting. So
for us being in the media after someone wins a round, they bring them down so that we can interview them. Okay, if they win, like last night, we had a couple of rookies win, and they're always the funnest because they're just like, wow.
Look at the lights.
Someone's interviewing me.
That's cool.
But after about the 3rd or 4th night, you start to get that pattern, and you kind of know who's going to win. And then you've interviewed them 4 other times, and it's like, "Hi, Bob, how you doing? Hi, Mark, how you doing? You won, yeah, I won." But you're going to do
some new questions for
yeah. Okay. However, afterwards they go down to the South Point. They go up on the stage. They get a belt buckle and a bottle of, I think, bourbon.
Jack.
And it's like, that's what I'm after, is a bottle of bourbon.
Yeah. What the hell? They're cowboys.
Yeah.
Moonshine was not like invented in Paris with cognac. It's got his cowboy roots. So, well, all right. Like we talked about, it's Redneck Week here in Vegas, and the National Finals Rodeo goes on and on and on. 9 more performances, and tickets are available on a limited basis unless you see somebody that in the parking lot. There's quite a bit of that goes on that doesn't go on with most other events here. But to sell out the Thomas and Mack 10 consecutive days, first year they came here, Mark, kind of a funny story. I was a dealer, and I was on the strip at the place called the Silver Slipper, which is no longer there. Kind of what across the street from what is now the Wynn. And
wait. Before you go on that story, okay? I get conflicting reports on this one, okay? And it really depends upon the source. The Silver Slipper sits where Treasure Island sits now, correct?
No, absolutely not. Silver Slipper would be next to Echelon. It was just across the road from where Echelon is now. We were right across. Stardust was on one side. The Frontier was on the other side. Where Trump Towers was the back parking lot of the Frontier. So you could throw a rock from the Trump Tower there and hit what used to be the Silver Slipper. It would be directly. The church, the Catholic church that's there on the strip was a little north. So maybe.
So basically, where Fashion Mall sits now.
Where Fashion Show Mall sits now, yeah, was farther up. We were down closer. It was between DI and Spring Mountain there, right. But it was right next. If you see the empty Hulk that is Echelon Place, you walked across the street, you would be in the parking lot for the Silver Slipper.
Okay, all right, got it. Sorry.
Desert Inn was right across the street, and then they've torn down the Desert Inn. So no, it wasn't where TI was. That was if I'm not mistaken, that was a hole in the wall. There was a freestanding race and sports book there at that intersection, Mark, on the other side, catty corner from the TI. Gary Austin's. This was when race and sports books weren't known inside of casinos. So
no.
But anyhow, okay, go ahead.
My first time to Vegas, I was staying at the Aladdin. Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, you're the one.
Yeah. And I went into Little Caesars, the sports book.
Little Caesars was there, yeah, sure.
That was the coolest. That for a boy from Minnesota, okay, to walk into that. I mean, that is the one thing that I remember that I walked away going, "That's Vegas." That little seedy hole in the wall, guys with the cigars and the pieces of paper trying to figure out which horse is going to go lame. But okay, all right, you were a dealer, and a legal one.
When the National Finals Rodeo moved from Oklahoma City to Las Vegas, I believe it was 1985. I just started working at the Silver Slipper, and one of the grizzled old veterans said, "Hey, listen, kid, if you're going to go back to Colorado, you can take the whole month of December off, from the day after Thanksgiving until the day after Christmas. You can have it off, and they'll furlough you. And when you come back, your job will be waiting, and everybody goes home for Christmas." And I said, "Really?" And so I was talking to one of the bosses in the break room, and I said, probably everybody shouldn't get off this year. They're going to be busy. There's a bunch of cowboys coming to town. Any cowboys? They don't gamble. There's nobody. What's coming in? And I said the National Finals Rodeo is coming in, and it goes 10 days, and they're going to be here. And Oklahoma City's upset about losing them. They had a lot of people that show up to this rodeo, so I think it's going to be very popular in Vegas. And he said, "Nah, screw it. You want off?" He said, "Everybody can go." He says, "Well," he says, the porters will be the only people in here, man." I said, "Okay, you know better than I do." So sure enough, here the National Finals Rodeo starts. Everybody's gone. I go into work, and we had pit bosses dealing. We had porters dealing. We had people from the kitchen that were helping out. We just didn't have enough people. We had 18 tables, Mark, and we didn't have 18 dealers on swing shift. And I'm telling you, you worked an hour and you hurried on your break and you came back and it was just, I told you so. This is going to be cool. And December used to be just the mortician's month here. Yep. You literally could set off a bomb and hurt nothing but employees in a casino. And now you look what the National Finals Rodeo has done, and then I think it brought in other things. You look at NASCAR moved from New York to here for their Champions Week. It always happens in this first week of December, and December is a live month now.
Yep.
And the Christmas show and all the different things that go on, Mark. I mean, it really has changed us much for the better. I wish I really do wish there was more. I know there's some people that come out here and this is their whole. They work 50 weeks of the 52 weeks of a year, and they're 2 weeks in vacation. They come out and spend it. And the money that they've earned in that 50 weeks or whatever, they spend it here in Las Vegas at hotels and casinos and buffets and the National Finals Rodeo.
And cowboy Christmas shopping. God, there's
cowboy shopping. Christmas shopping. Yeah. Yeah. What a great boon it has been to our economy. I mean, we had an 11th month economy when I first got here, and now it's year round. And I really do think the National Finals Rodeo is that thing you can trace it back to as that lit the fuse for the modern Las Vegas that we see now, that encompasses damn near everything, Richie Klein and Ralph Engelstadt and now Mr. Smith brought us to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But I think the National Finals Rodeo proved that Vegas is more than just fights.
Yep.
Vegas is a place that can support these kind of things, and they have the infrastructure with their hotel rooms and things to do. I guarantee you, when this National Finals Rodeo was in Oklahoma City for 10 days, you ran out of good, fun stuff to do in Oklahoma City probably by day 3. The rest of it is, okay, what's on TV? When the rodeo's over or whatever it is, or let's go get drunk. I mean, that seemed to be the thing. There's a lot more to do in Las Vegas. The people we were standing with, the young lady was talking about the different shows that she got onto. A lot of the shows used to go on hiatus too, Mark.
Yep.
So it really was, they shuttered the thing, and everybody kind of recharge their batteries or whatever. I don't think we get that chance anymore, but it was an interesting time. But I think you can trace the change back to when the National Finals Rodeo came here to Las Vegas, and I'm glad they're here. Again, you got to blame the bull riders for me, the pro bull riders. They kind of spoiled me for all the other events, and God bless the people that do that. It's cool that somebody can make money riding a horse around barrels, and it's cool that somebody can make money throwing a rope around a calf's neck. The one thing that people don't realize is rodeo's a long season, and when the start of the year, the calves are like puppies. Well, if you have a puppy for 6 months, you know how much bigger the dog is 6 months later. You can't really hold it in your hands anymore. Now you're holding it. Now you got the dog and you got a leash and stuff like that. Calves in particular are a hell of a lot bigger during the National Finals Rodeo than they were when the season started in spring. The rodeo season starts February, March, whatever it is. Those calves are small, and they kind of run out there and do. By this time, they're all veterans. They know what the hell's going on, and they're a couple 100 pounds bigger than they were. So, as the season goes on, it gets increasingly tough to score and to because the animals are bigger and they know what's going on. They've been there before. So, fish avoid fish hooks that look like fish hooks. So calves are smart enough to know, if I run in a straight line, that big guy's going to throw something around my neck. How about if I dip and dodge a little bit? I watched the NFR, close enough. Yeah. So did you enjoy, which did you enjoy better, Mark? The Fremont Street experience with the drivers walking the red carpet, or the burnouts?
Burnouts sucked this year. They really did.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah, I thought they have too many guys, and they can't have 16 guys doing burnouts at one place. So we missed out on half the drivers. We didn't see Jeff Gordon do his burnout, his last burnout of the strip. I make his last little, of all things, they let Kyle Busch do it at both places. They probably should have done the same thing for Jeff, and I don't think he ever would have pushed it. He would have just done it.
Yeah.
Keselowski gets into it. For a guy who's a pretty good guy, I think he comes across as a prick. And it's kind of unfortunate. He's not that big of a prick. He did endear himself to a lot of people, particularly here in Las Vegas, when he grabbed the microphone and in front of God and everybody and 100,000 of his closest fans said Kyle Busch is an ass. It wasn't like that was a response to a question.
It was just
he just decided this is a good time to spark a controversy or a feud or whatever it was. So I don't think they exchanged Christmas cards. But Keselowski gets Joey Logano, honest to God, a pretty good guy. I mean, he seems pretty happy most of the time and never seems to be a guy that should be a bad guy. And, people forget, okay, he was blocking Matt Kenseth for the lead of a race. Matt Kenseth retaliated from 9 laps down to knock Joey Logano's season into the dumpster. And to hear everybody boo Joey Logano and all that, and when we were down, when they finally queued up on the stage, it was very obvious that one of the drivers, not a guy who's ever won a championship, but certainly a hell of a driver, literally turned his back to Joey Logano. Yep. And it kind of reminded you of when the cops turned their back on the mayor of New York. Was it de Blasio? Yeah. During one of the police funerals. And I mean, it was very, very obvious. I think some people, just didn't realize, but boy, it was obvious from where we were sitting that was not something that just happened. No. Ryan Newman was not, I guess I outed him. He didn't seem all that interested in what the team was doing in that little game they had up there. But Joey Logano's a pretty good guy. And I've never known him to be anything but a hard racer. And I guess it's going to take some time for people to forgive the guy that really got run into. I mean, he was no bigger a victim than Matt Kenseth was. But I think the circumstances were different. Logano was blocking Kenseth for the lead of the race. Kenseth wrecked him to pay back for that situation and took Logano out of the chase. And Matty Kenseth didn't make the walk on the red carpet, but he did show up for the burnouts. And it's unfortunate. I think both guys lost out on the deal. But I'm not a huge Joey Logano fan, but I don't think that it was tough to see the kid booed. Yeah. It was tough to see the kid. What do you want him to do? They said, boys, have at it, boys. And some, it's what I told my sons, man, and my daughter too. Somebody punches you in the nose, you can run, or you can stand and punch him back. And if you don't punch him back, then you're going to get punched more. So you might as well stand and fight. And I think that's what Logano did. And there's always been some resentment. And you go back to Jeff Gordon. He was very much resented. He wasn't a good old boy. He wasn't a Southern kid. He was a kid from California who went to Indiana. His family moved to Indiana so he could. I think it was Pittsfield, Indiana, so he could drive and move on and further his career. Joey Logano's dad happens to be the trash king of New Jersey or wherever the hell it is back there, Connecticut, and they had the funds. The kid wanted to be a racer, and they had the funds, and they got him the car, and he's got the experience. Well, son of a gun, the kid's got quite a bit of talent. He won more races than anybody else did this year, and one incident seems to have tainted him, and it was tough. He came down that red carpet, and he was pretty. He was happy and smiles and stood and took pictures and did everything you would hope somebody would do, and they still booed him. And so I think it's going to be a while before Logano gets back in the good graces. Maybe if he wins a championship or something like that. But
look at Busch. Look at Kyle Busch. Yeah. I mean, for the number of years that he would walk on that stage and get booed, and now, everyone loves him.
For just being rowdy. Yeah, absolutely. He got married. He had Brexton, and those things changed. So the perception of Kyle Busch changed. And like I say, I'm not the biggest Joey Logano fan, but certainly I got to give the credit, the devil his due, Mark. The kid can race. And however he got there, Brad Keselowski is certainly not a favorite of mine, but another guy who Probably the opposite of Logano. I mean, my God, Keselowski's parents sold and mortgaged everything to further this kid's career, and he won a championship, and he races hard, and and you know what I mean. And they booed him too. And I mean, I don't know. It seemed like it was. Mass hysteria almost when one started booing, everybody else did. But I think if you look at the situations with both guys, they're both very, very good racers. One has a championship, one will probably have a championship. You you looked at some of the guys that walking down that red carpet, Mark, and some of the guys were enjoying the hell out of it. Yes. Some of the guys were having a great deal of fun, and some of the guys looked like they were just about ready to head into the dentist office. Yep. And, every once in a while, one of them would fire a smile out there, but Ryan Newman didn't look like he was having any fun at all. I got photos of him, Mark, looking like this, and he was signing some guy's hat. A cowboy hat kind of thing, and Newman was just looking and just kind of turned and very, very blank. And then you see some guys that were really, really getting into it and having a good time. And then there was poor old Paul Menard, who could basically walk through any Walmart in America and nobody would ever ask him for an autograph unless maybe he was down south or something, And he's a kid whose family, you look, that Menard name is on damn near every race car that races, and it doesn't matter really whether it's NASCAR or Xfinity or the Bull Ring out here. A lot of people have Menard stickers on there, and this is a kid that come from a racing family, a racing background, and he races. And he made the chase. He was in the top 16, which they're getting close to having half of their competitors race for the chase. Right. So and I think now let's go back to that comment about the burnouts were not as cool as they have been. I don't know what they changed, but as I came by the first traffic island down by the Wynn where we normally stand, Mark, on the way up to where you were at the other end, at the south end of the strip, there was probably 30 people on that little island, and there was no police cars, and they had the big orange barriers around there and whatever down by the Wynn, and it just looked more sterile. I mean, it just didn't look homey and fun and like it used to be. So I guess things are changing. I wonder how many times I'm going to win. I'll be a guy that doesn't look like he belongs in a tuxedo except at a funeral, and I'll have my camera bag with all my stuff in it. So do I look like a terrorist to you?
Well, I just remember the first year that it was here, Paula and I went down to do the red carpet. And, I mean, it was just so funny because people that we normally see in the media room, we don't dress very nice. We're photographers, we're videographers. We just, a t-shirt and a pair of pants, okay? Now all of a sudden everyone's in tuxedos and fine gowns and, and
I figure if I have my genitals covered, everything else is icing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just really funny because everybody is in tuxedos and long gowns and all that. And it's just, it's like, who are you? It's like, dude, we sat next to each other for the last 3 races and photographed. It's like, wow, man, we clean up, man.
Yeah, clean up nice. Yeah, I heard that a couple times last year.
Yeah, but
recognize you.
And then it's funny because the drivers will walk down with their wives or their girlfriends, and then it's like, okay, driver,
tall
move.
Wives.
Move. We want pictures of the wives. That's it.
Yeah,
go away. They look.
Last year, Kevin Harvick won, and it was Keelan and Delana that everybody wanted pictures. It was like, Kevin, would you mind getting out of the way? We got pictures of you, dude. We want the hot blonde in there, and it really is. And another guy, Mark, not to digress much, another guy who doesn't get a hell of a lot of credit for being an okay guy is Kurt Busch. And I felt bad for Kurt Busch yesterday. Steve Ross, the city councilman, got up there and was giving Kyle Busch the key to the city and the proclamation from the mayor. And I think Kurt Busch finished, when did he come in? 5th or 6th or something like that in the chase. I mean, he acquitted himself very well as Stuart Haas and was certainly in the hunt. and is a former champion. And Steve Ross read the names of all the people, Andre Agassi and on, and then got to Bryce Harper and Chris Bryant and the MVP and the Rookie of the Year in the National League this year in baseball, and read off a bunch of names, some lesser lights than others, and didn't read Kurt Busch's name. He is a NASCAR champion. He was the first ever the Chase Cup champion. The guy to go through that, and I felt bad for Kurt. Kyle kind of looked around. You could see that the brotherhood with them, they had their rift a few years. I'm glad they've kissed and made up, and but you could tell that brotherhood runs pretty deep. Kyle, you could just see he didn't have to say anything. You could just see he was looking for him to say, okay, you left out somebody that's a champion here, and they didn't mention Kurt's name, and he's another guy who I've never asked him to take a photo with somebody, Mark, or to pose or to do whatever, that he hasn't been very accommodating. I have seen him at events where he stopped eating to get up and walk over and take a photo with somebody and have a word with them and whatever, and come back to cold food, so he's another guy. I don't know why, I don't put him in the same category as Keselowski and Logano, but he just seems to be, and maybe it's his, he's had some. Now with YouTube and everything else, you can still go see the blowups that Kurt Busch has had, and he's a fiery guy, and when he has a hard time turning off the adrenaline, and it tends to run right towards his mouth, and sometimes that gets you in trouble. And he said some things, and he had a falling out with Dr. Jerry Punch, and doing an interview at his hauler after he got he was in an incident on the track and wasn't happy. And what do you expect the guy to say? Hey, how's things? They're effed up. Yeah. Next question. And guys don't use their heads, and they set people up, and then the perception is what people see, but they don't see the setup to it. And I think that's what happened with good old Kurt. So anyway, moving on, Mark, there was one of the, and I know you were watching the rodeo.
You mean there's other sports
came home last night? It kicked on the TV, and of course the Lions and the Packers were playing a game, and it came down to the last couple minutes, and the Lions had dominated. They were up 20 points, and before the Packers ever sniffed anything, and Mason Crosby doinked one off the goalpost, and so the Packers, where they thought they were at least going to get a field goal, had he made that, we would not have had the drama that we had at the end of the game. Nonetheless. It came down to the last play of the game, and when the announcer said, "Okay, for the first time in 20-something years, or since 1965 or 85 or whatever the hell it was, the Lions are going to sweep the Packers in a year," and when he said that, oh no, oh no, they're not. It's like telling the guy, "Hey, you got a no-hitter going." Yeah, right. Next crack, there goes the ball. So he says that, and it comes down to literally the last play of the game with time running, and the Packers were too far from the end zone to kick a field goal, and so they had to try something, and they'd run down to 6 seconds, so they didn't have time to throw the ball out of bounds and get close enough for Mason Crosby, a former Colorado Golden Buffalo, who can kick the ball a long ways, not always right down the middle, but he kicks it way the hell out there. And they just didn't have the chance to use the weapons that they would have liked to. So they did okay, I'm going to throw it to you, and then you lateral it back to me, and then you lateral to this guy, and you lateral to this guy, and maybe we'll confuse them all, and somebody will score a touchdown, and we'll win, and we'll all go home happily ever after. Time runs out. The play's still going on. Kid named Rogers throws the ball back to Aaron Rodgers. Now, this young man who's a tight end for the Packers named Rodgers, his dad played at the University of California, as did the young man who I'm talking about. In 1982, when John Elway was a senior at Stanford, they played a game against California that is simply known as the game. And I know you've seen, even non-sports fans have seen the end of this game. They did the exact same thing. They pitched the ball back and forth. They lateraled it. They threw it across the field. Everybody touched the ball like 3 separate times. and the Stanford's band is coming on the field. That we win the game, we win the game. It's the big game, and holy crap, here comes the guy with the football, and the announcer screaming, "The band's on the field!" And the kid scores the touchdown on over the trombone player, screws up his $800 trombone, and the California Golden Bears win the game against Stanford. Last night, the kid's son pitches the ball back to, finally gets it back to Aaron Rodgers. And one of the players for the Lions, as he goes by, Mark, his hand comes by, and this part of his thumb catches on the way past, catches the face mask of Aaron Rodgers by one joint, by right there, and didn't grip it or anything. He that thumb was half inside that face mask for a brief bit of a moment, and pulled. And when he did, it moved his head and the helmet around a little bit. He rotated maybe 20, 25 degrees. The referee was behind the play and saw the movement of the head much more than the actual hand on the face mask, and threw the flag. Letter of the law, yeah, you cannot do that. Real time, I think if the referee had been in the front, he'd said, well, he just, on his way by, he bumped the face mask with his hand. He didn't really grip it. But because that thumb went inside, it does meet the minimum of what the rule says for hitting the face mask or grabbing the face mask. Grasping, I think they call it. So, splitting hairs. The referee wasn't where he could see. There's only 6 referees, and there's 22 players at any given time, and coaches and everything on the sideline and all that stuff. They have a lot of crap to keep their eyes on. And he was in the position where he was supposed to be. He just couldn't see how it transpired. And he threw the flag. And so the Packers got one untimed down. The game was over. There was no time, 0-0-0 on the clock. Yet they have one play, which is what happens when there's a defensive play in the last play of the game. And so Jinx, that is the announcer, said, okay, Rodgers is going to have to be able to roll out so he can run and get his legs under him to throw the ball into the end zone from here. We're talking 70 yards or thereabouts. And that's exactly what happened. Rodgers got away from a tackle. Somebody threw a nice block. He was about to get sacked. And somebody threw a nice block and sprung him to the right. And Rodgers took a couple steps, and just like a javelin thrower, he planted his foot and launched the ball, and he launched it up. He had such a great arc on it, Mark, that it went up. It almost looked like a punt rather than a pass with the lower arc. And the same man that had pitched him the ball, the same man whose dad played in the Cal-Stanford game, caught the ball in the end zone. He just ran in front of everybody and jumped up and come down with the ball. And poor Matt Stafford, the Lions quarterback, he just flipped his hat. Just not angrily, but just that, oh my God, it happened. And threw the hat off. And, it was an unbelievable finish. It could be the weirdest finish to a football game, to a pro football game in my lifetime, Mark. Yeah. It's certainly up there in the top 3. And, they trace back the popularity of the NFL to an overtime game. Johnny Unitas and Alan Amici win the National Football League championship in overtime. It was overtime because they didn't have overtimes except playoffs. You have to have a winner there. And it was the overtime game, and it really popularized the NFL. College had been the big dogs there, and I don't think colleges have ever made it back to the position they had as number 1, and the NFL has never looked back. And I think this last night, now they're talking about everything should be reviewable, and they should have been able to look at that. I don't think even if they look at it, if it was reviewable, they would have said he had his thumb in there. Yeah, he had enough of that thumb in there to count. I suppose I just don't know how it's better by reviewing it or whatever, Mark. But yeah, it was a hell of a finish, and here we are talking about it. And I guarantee you, we're not the only ones talking about it and saw it. And there's people leaning on the water cooler as we speak, talking about that very play. So it really was a crappy game. There was 2 games. One that the Lions got 20 points in a row and could have had more. And then the Packers were inept, and all of a sudden, they get a fumble. knock a ball out of Stanford's hands. They get the ball, they score, and then they get it to 14. They get another score, and you're thinking, wow, 20-14. They're going to make a game of this, and the Lions just couldn't do anything but be the Lions, and they ended up losing the game. Basically ended their season. They were going to have to win 8 in a row, and they were on a pretty good run towards that to have any chance at making the playoffs. And the Packers were about to go in the dumpster until they'd played the Broncos 4 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. They were undefeated. And they had really been like a rudderless ship. And all of a sudden, hey, guess what? We found a rudder. And I think this will propel the Packers. I would not be surprised to see them make a deep run into the playoffs. The one thing that's killing everybody now, Mark, is offensive linemen. And it looked like a MASH unit. They were having triage at the 50-yard line. There were 2 and 3 players down in probably 5 minutes of game time. I think 4 or 5 guys got carted off the field. And so the Packers were down to, like, the coaches were looking for helmets because they were going to have to go in on the offensive line. And so that will keep you from winning a championship. You can't do it with the makeshift line. You can replace one guy here or one guy there, but you can't have all 4 or 5 guys up front be different than the guys you left camp with. So I don't think that the Packers are going to win, but I do believe they will make the playoffs because of this game last night. So, a couple things, Mark. In college, we're to the point of the season where they're trying to impress people and get better bowl games and get into this playoff and do all these things. So the colleges really, really have a big incentive in these last few games to run up the score as best they can. It's money.
Right.
For the NFL, nobody gives a damn. You win by 1, you win by 100. It's the same thing. There's no coach's poll. There's no AP poll. There's no nothing. How much you win by has very, very little to do with the playoffs. It's way, way, way down the line as far as tiebreakers go. Points scored or points given up. Or I think it's called the point differential. And it's like the 10th or 12th tiebreaker. If everything else is even, they go to what did you score more than you gave up and by how much? And that's how they did. I mean, it's a determining factor, but it's almost like the constitutional amendment for the succession of the president.
Right.
Eventually, the secretary of Treasury's in there, and then you get the agricultural secretary and the homeland. Everybody's mentioned in there, although you are almost positive it's never going to occur. I think that's what you see there. So, anyway, it was, I guess, a pretty good night for upsets. You call that an upset when somebody's up 20-0 and they lose with no time left on the clock and they still lose. All right, we're going to keep playing until the guys in the green and the yellow win. We don't like blue. So whatever it was, and it was a night of upsets. Like I said, UCLA knocked off number 1 Kentucky, and UCLA's already lost 3 games and looked pretty pedestrian this year. And they got their player Page back, their little guard, and they handed Kentucky their asses. They said, "Here you go. We're not intimidated." John Calipari's a class act. He's always funny, and he kind of threw down his hands, and he just knew Kentucky made it close, but UCLA knocked off number 1 Kentucky. So we're just getting into the swing of things for basketball, Mark. And there's quite a few basketball tournaments that come here and will be here over Christmas time. One of the things the National Finals Rodeo does, it runs out the Running Rebels out of their home, and they're playing a game at the MGM Grand Garden Arena this week, and I forget even who the opponent is, Mark. But kind of an odd thing, and I guess maybe I don't know. There's got to be some other programs that have to put up with. We need to make money from this 10 days in a row that we get here, so go play somewhere else.
Right.
I don't know what other program has that to that extent, but I'm sure some of them get moved out of their place because of other things that were scheduled there before that they're going to make some money off of. But I don't think it's yes,
because we're getting close to the top of the hour. Kobe Bryant's last Kobe Bryant's last game is April 13th, I think. We have tickets. We have tickets for sale on our website.
On our website.
Yep.
Tickets that are going to go in the thousands of dollars.
Yep.
to be there, because you're not going to see Kobe Bryant in the playoffs unless A, he gets traded to another team, which is not going to happen, or something biblically cataclysmic happens to 27 or 28 other teams in the NBA. Kobe Bryant's not going to play any games past the last regularly scheduled game of the season. And I told you that last year.
Yep.
I've torn my Achilles. I've had all the injuries that Kobe's had. Of all the things that ever affected me, Mark, that's the one that affected me the most. And basketball is what it affected me the most in.
Do you think
it feels different.
Do you think he's going away?
Oh, I think Kobe's he's a different type of pro athlete. He did not grow up dirt poor. He's kind of like Floyd Mayweather Jr. He didn't grow up dirt poor. His dad was a pro ball player. He went to Italy. He's very fluent in Italian, and I don't think Kobe's going to do it for the money. I think Kobe wants to be Kobe, and I think he has always been a different individual in the NBA. And there was the feud with Shaq and this and that, and Kobe just kind of dances to his own drummer. So I don't think he's going to be involved in the NBA, Mark. I think he might do something. I think it would interest him more to do something in Europe and bringing the NBA there, or doing something like that, much like the NFL is wanting to expand into Europe. Obviously, there's talent there. If you look at all the teams now that have European players on them, it's a very, very rare team. European in a very substantial role on their NBA teams. So I think, to answer your question, I think if Kobe does still do something with basketball, it would be along that lines, but I don't think he's going to coach or do anything like that. And like I said, with the Achilles, it just did not allow him to be Kobe. And he's not satisfied being sixth or seventh guy on the bench.
He's not going to go play basket or baseball or soccer or whatever Jordan did.
He's got hundreds of millions of dollars, and he's going to go enjoy it, and he's going to go do what Kobe wants to do. And God bless him. He's I will never forget the first time I saw Kobe practicing with our Olympic team. And LeBron James was there, and Kevin Durant, and on. And you look at these guys all out there and how awesome they are. And here's Kobe Bryant, and everybody else is playing. It's this scrimmage, and everybody else is playing. And when Dwayne Wade had the ball, the guy that was covering him was on him. And when LeBron James guy had the ball, whoever was covering him was on him. And everybody else had their man. When Kobe Bryant got the ball, all the other 9 sets of eyes turned towards Kobe Bryant. They knew when he had that ball in his hands, something offensive is going to happen. And I don't mean bad offensive. I just mean they knew it was really a very, very watch. Here's Kobe Bryant with the ball, and everybody's looking at him. It almost was like freeze frame. Okay, Kobe's got the ball. Now what you going to do? And he's been a very, very, very good player. 20 years with one franchise. I believe he was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets and traded that night, or maybe the next day. His rights were traded to the Lakers, at the time being run by Jerry West, and who said the other day, he was quoted as saying, "It's tough to watch Kobe now." And it is. Like I say, his Achilles, it affects your shot. You're used to jumping, and it's so fluid, and it's like bowling, and you do it over and over and over. And it doesn't feel the same. Even though they've repaired it and you're able to jump and whatever, it just doesn't feel the same, Mark. And it looks like it's thrown everything off for him. The guy's had 3 of 21 and 2 of 18 and those kind of nights to start this season. And, as happens to every great athlete, your body goes first. Your body lets you down before anything else happens. Your body says, we can't perform on this level anymore. And, Kobe has a great litany of injuries, his finger and his wrist and his knees and then his Achilles and all that. And it catches up to you. So the NBA is going to miss Kobe Bryant. I don't see anybody with that kind of, you just don't see them that unique of a person anymore. I don't know that there's any on the horizon that just kind of have that. Stephen Curry with the relationship with Del Curry and grew up as an NBA kid and whatever. Okay, but Kobe Bryant and Joe Jellybean Bryant, It just I think the NBA is going to be going to wish Kobe was back to being a 17-year-old kid out of Upper Marion High School in Philadelphia. So anyway,
right.
yeah, Kobe Bryant said it's kind of tough to watch the end of his career, and it would not surprise me, Mark, if something happened before the end of the season with him. So we do have tickets available, and it is. I'm going to say this. This is your warning. It is, buy them now, and it is speculation. You may be holding tickets to a crappy Lakers team last game, or you may be holding tickets to the ends of one of the greatest careers ever in the NBA. So play the lottery. Your number's either going to come up or it's not. If Kobe plays that final game, you're holding a gold mine if you buy the tickets. If Kobe doesn't play in that game, you're holding tickets to an NBA game. So you're going to go see great talent, but it's not going to be Kobe Bryant. So, all right. What do they have to do, Mark?
Go to our website.
What do they have to do to get the tickets?
They go to our website, goodsportsmedia.com. Right now, there's an article about it on the front page, but there's going to be a link on the sidebar. Just go ahead and click that.
Okay. Can people get to our Facebook site, Mark, off of our website?
Yes, they can.
Okay, because I have some photos up there. I know you put a story up last night about the bareback first round of the bareback riding in the National Finals Rodeo. I've got the photos up from day 1 and day 2 up on the site. There's a pretty good selection. I think there's over 100 photos up for both days.
Take bad photos.
Go find your photos.
Thank you. You're getting to be a pretty good photographer.
If I keep at it, I'll be something someday. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, buddy. Well, I'm going to go to you go smell the horse crap, and I'm going to go eat the filet mignon at the NASCAR banquet.
Yeah. Rub it in. All right. Good Sports Media.
All right, folks. I guess it's time to go. Mark's whoever that guy is, giving me the sign. And could you hold up more than one finger now and again? Just not that I'm not used to people pointing one finger at me, but
is your vision getting
all right,
bad?
well, we first off, folks, we yesterday was my baby boy's birthday, and I want to dedicate this show to him. Happy birthday, Tyler! A day late, but Dad loves you, and. Folks, we do appreciate you all listening, and please stick with us. Visit the website. You want tickets to the Lakers, you can buy them right there on goodsportsmedia.com. So, Mark, I guess that's about it, buddy, for all of us here at Good Sports. I'm Rick Rosen with Mark Anthony. You've been listening to Good Sports on goodsportsmedia.com, and we hope to see you all the times we're on. And if you can't see us live, you can go on and check us out on the archives. Thanks for listening. Please have a very safe weekend. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.